Hey everyone, it's Skiesti. Now that the Overwatch 2 beta has recently come to a close, I wanted to get a few of my fellow support content creators together to share their thoughts on how their main hero felt to play and what they might like to see happen to them in the future. Since I already explained my own thoughts on Mercy in a separate video that I'll link in the description, I'll let the other creators do most of the talking today.
Here are my thoughts about Ana, Bap, and Zen. Okay, after playing a lot of Ana in Overwatch 2, I definitely have to say she's still a very powerful hero. She received one change near the end of the beta wave 1 where her nade, her anti-effect or whatnot, got lowered by 1 second, but the ammo bumped up to 15 or whatnot. That definitely didn't affect her in any meaningful way, in my opinion. Maybe in some edge cases where, like, obviously they're not as anti for as long, but having 15 ammo without having to reload is a pretty nice buff to make up for it too. So all in all, Ana's in a great place. We saw her a lot in the Overwatch League. She synergizes really well with Winston. If it's not a Winston being played or a Doomfist, any mobile tank, I think Ana actually gets replaced by a different support hero, to be honest with you. You could see some Moira, could see some Baptiste, especially after his buff. And speaking of Baptiste, that last buff where he gets the instant 100 flat HP if they're under 50% health makes him an absolute monster with Orisa and Reinhardt. And I really think Baptiste is like really close to being a perma pick. And honestly, I think with the way Overwatch 2 is in the 5v5, the meta is really determined by which tank is the meta pick, or which tanks are the strongest ones, because you build your comp now around the tank first and foremost, in my opinion. That's your bread and butter. Whatever you queue into, if your tank picks Winston, you have to play an Ana with it. If they pick an Orisa or Rein, you should probably play Bap or Moira with it. So that's the thing with Bap. He's really good in the right comps right now. And with Zenyatta, especially after the snap kick buff, oh my god. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction to say he was like super powerful with that kick, but I think the biggest change for Zen was honestly the 25 extra HP. We knew how crazy that felt when Cassidy received that extra 25 health. It changes breakpoint significantly. The fact that Zen can regenerate it passively with the support passive stacked with the shield health regeneration means he can heal like 45 HP per second after a few seconds. So if you just duck and cover, after 5 seconds, you should always be full health, no matter what, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I think Zen is really good right now. He's super hard to dive with that extra HP and obviously that kick to push back dive heroes, but I find myself not using it that often. I find that whenever I get dove, like obviously if they run into me, I can kick them away, but it seems like most dive heroes, at least the more competent dive heroes, they don't actually run into my face. Like Genji won't fully like dash commit into me unless he knows he can burst me down. So I haven't found too many opportunities to kick him away. Same with Tracers have good spacing, and then they'll blink really quickly into melee, and then I don't even have time to react because they're going to be blinking away or they're going to recall. Maybe in some certain cases with Winston diving me on high ground, I can kick him away, but I found they don't come there as often, which might just be like an indirect buff though. Like, to be fair, maybe the reason why they aren't coming as close, or like I don't get jumped as often, is because they know they can get kicked away. So as a byproduct, I don't get dove as often as Zen, but that actually means like the DPS heroes like Widowmaker or Hanzo end up losing out because they end up being dive targets against dive comp. So all in all, especially with these three heroes, Ana, super meta, really good. Bap is also a really great choice. So is Zen. These are definitely three super solid choices. And now we have Lucio and Moira, who are still solid heroes despite those changes. And we also have Brig, which I think is also low-key a really good hero. And Mercy with the Giga Jump. I don't know if there's a comment on Mercy, I'll just say it. I think that change is going to take some time for the players to get used to in terms of like when to use it. But it's a nice tool to have because it's an additional like Giga Jump if necessary. You get the extra tech of being able to fly in the air. A lot of people are just using it now and just feeding right now because they're not sure how to use it effectively, but give it some time. People will discover new movement tech. They'll get a lot better. And I just think the only thing they need to change with that Mercy is just like the controls for it, because it's really awkward to unlearn the old super jump. If you try to do the old control shift thing, it just like flings you up. So if they have a way to kind of maintain the old super jump or the old movement while having another button or binding that control or something to something else, maybe there's a way around it right now that I'm unaware of.
Sorry to interrupt KarQ, but since you talked about this, I thought I'd mention that you can double bind crouch to be able to use both the old super jump system and the new super jump system. Doing that makes it still possible to use all of Mercy's old tech, including but not limited to her old super jump res, and V super jump. If you're interested in learning more about that, I made an entire video about it, and the link to that will also be in the description.
If they can do that, then I think it's all in all like a great tool for her, which I think might be necessary because it seems like all the other supports are doing pretty well now with all the changes. Like all the ones I listed are doing great, and with this Mercy thing, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
So initially, I went into the beta thinking that supports weren't great, but over time, I started feeling a lot better and personally had a really good time. I think the new maps give Mercy a lot to work with in terms of like positioning. Most of my issues with her fall under two categories. The first is just quality of life stuff, like being able to see if an ally is anti-naded and the damage boost hit markers returning. The more serious worry is that she'll fall behind other supports. I think only time and a competitive environment will tell if a support that doesn't fit completely into main or off healer can really work in Overwatch 2, or if Mercy will need significant changes to keep up.
Hey everyone, it's Somnus here. So I generally really like Mercy in Overwatch 2, and that's because there's been a lot of quality of life changes that make hated comms that usually don't work in Overwatch 1, like Lucio Mercy or Brig Mercy, work so much better since there's less need for healing due to only having one tank and due to every support having passive health regeneration. I feel like Overwatch 2 is a much more fast-paced game, where heroes with movement abilities have a much easier and impactful time, but however it does lack a lot of peel due to there only being one tank and people being really split. So the new Guardian Angel change that came in the last week of the beta helped a lot with survivability, but I feel like it took away being able to like adjust the super jump height itself for like super jump res, and also like I feel like the skill floor just got raised, you know, and I don't like that a lot. I wish they would make things like backwards Guardian Angel, for example, more accessible, or like super jump res instead of making super jump itself like more accessible. Backwards Guardian Angel is like a really finicky and hard to pull off thing, but if you pull it off, like here with me and Winston, it makes for great plays. Like look at the distance I put between me and Winston. I really wish things like that would be implemented instead.
Okay, so Ana in Overwatch 2 feels like she's in a great spot right now. Her kit no longer feels like frustratingly easy to cheese with minimal effort, like double shield, constant poke, forcing you to play passive, or even two tanks to dive you at once. Poke is largely less oppressive due to the new support passive. You can just kind of wait for the regeneration. You don't have to waste your like biotic grenade anymore. It's so nice. And as a whole, the new support passive just makes Ana's quality of life so much better than it is. So much better than it was. And it makes Ana so fun to play. Anti-grenade, however, is a bit powerful right now, and it's a lot easier to land you to player inexperience in 5v5, less shields, less Diva Matrix, la-di-da-di-da. But I think the duration nerf will probably be enough. On a sleep dart nerf though, might seem like it's not really much at first glance, going from 12 to 15 seconds, but it's actually extremely punishing in such a fast-paced environment right now, especially with an uptick in DPS flanks. I've noticed it been quite punishing and hard to use. Nano Boost is literally the exact same, with the exception being Nano Blade is a bit strong in 5v5, but I think it's a largely Genji thing, so I don't think there's any things you should do to Ana though. As a whole though, the Overwatch 2 beta is so refreshing to play to me. I've been playing the game since Overwatch 1, so that's like 2016 in the open beta, and the direction the game's gone feels like how it was back then. It's so much more fun to play. I just really hope that this game keeps up the uptick in content and possibly adds a competitive in the future, because genuinely, I can't wait.
Hey everyone, it's HolyShiftKid coming at you with some of my thoughts for Brigitte in the Overwatch 2 beta. After playing the beta, the overall game of Overwatch 2 is a lot more deathmatchy and a lot more brawly, and harder overall mechanically, and Brig is definitely no different. Playing Brig in the beta can be incredibly rewarding, but only if you hit all of your abilities and have good positioning. She's just harder is overall, but it's definitely very rewarding in the Overwatch 2 environment. I also find in 5v5, it's a lot easier to play Brig against not dive. With a more deathmatch brawly environment, Brig can get a lot more values into a ton of different team comps, but only if you are hitting your abilities correct. In Overwatch 1, Brig was normally made to stop tanks like Winston, Ball, Diva, but without the stun in Overwatch 2, her powers kind of shifted over into stopping squishies and DPS. However, I feel that she's in the perfect spot because the overall conditions of Overwatch 2 are more deathmatchy and brawly. You're trying to get these eliminations, and Brig fits perfectly with the more damage instead of the stun. So I'm really happy actually with the changes that are Brig, and I'm personally having a lot of fun. There are still ways in which Brig is not the best though, and that's when the enemy team is playing really fast and they're speeding you over. Really easy to overwhelm Brig in Overwatch 2 if their team is very coordinated and very fast, but in the ranked environment without coordination and not always the best teamwork, Brig can still get a lot of value and has a bunch of carry potential. So overall, I think Brig is definitely in a great spot because if playing her bad, you're not going to do well with her. You don't just get free value on Brig, but if you play her well, you get a lot of value for your team.
Personally, many of us feel that supports in Overwatch 2 feel pretty weak overall, even with the changes we've seen lately. Lucio stands out among the rest of the support roster because of his sheer survivability. They even just made a small change to his self-healing since his passive healing ability with Crossfade was a little too strong alongside the support role's passive heals, and, well, he basically feels the same. He's fine as he is, genuinely. If we had to come up with a suggested change, we think giving his boop more utility would be killer, actually. Imagine if you could boop teammates in and out of engagements. Then again, should we really trust an ability like that in matchmaking? We're not so sure.
Hi everyone, I'm Hoshi, or some of you might know me as Hoshizora, and I'm a former top 500 Mercy and Moira player. I've played a lot of Moira during the beta, and I think that she's hands down one of the best supports in Overwatch 2. Due to the changes of 5v5 and reduction to crowd control overall, Moira performs particularly well thanks to her great mobility, self-healing, and DPS output. The new support regen passive also stacks very well with her self-healing. Putting all that aside though, most importantly, I think Moira is just fun to play. The constant juggling of healing, DPSing, and fading feels satisfying, and being able to finally pull off a useful coalescence without worrying about a billion stuns interrupting you is great. In terms of future direction, the Overwatch devs did mention that they're looking to provide her with more utility while reducing her damage output to be more aligned with other supports. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I personally think her kit is fine the way it is, and I don't really think she needs a complete rework. If this was Overwatch 1 where utility and crowd control played a more important role, then sure, I think she should get reworked, but I don't think Moira needs it in Overwatch 2. Perhaps a slight nerf to her healing and DPS potential is all that's needed to make her slightly less powerful in comparison to the other supports. However, I'm definitely interested to see what the devs come up with for her potential rework.
Hey everyone, my name is Aiden. I go by ShartCandy on all my socials. I peed 4.5 one-tricking Moira, and I'm here to talk about Moira's place in the Overwatch 2 beta. After playing Moira for many hours in Pugs and Quick Play, I've determined that Moira is in fact viable. I wouldn't say hard meta because Ana is just a better hero, but the two are pretty interchangeable overall. The reason Moira is much more viable in Overwatch 2 is because her kit fits very well with the brawl/dive meta of 5v5. The main parts of her kit would be her sustainability and her mobility. Both of these aspects increase her survivability, which is crucial in brawl and dive comps. She can quickly output high healing numbers for herself and her teammates at the same time, which is especially helpful for the fast pace of 5v5. With things like Winston and Doomfist being meta in a 5v5 comp, it only makes sense that Moira's ability from Fade would nicely complement the high mobility from the tanks by allowing her to follow up on dives. Moira goes well with dive comps as well as counter them, being able to easily escape dives by fading away and using her high healing output to ultra pocket teammates. Although there are many pros to Moira in the beta, she still lacks the utility that other supports have. I'd love to see a change that would add some utility to her kit, like a cleanse effect or anything really, like just begging for anything. And overall, Moira is in a pretty good spot in the beta, and I'm curious to see what they do with her in the future.
Hey everyone, it's Dan. I'm a support player who plays a lot of Ana and Mercy, but also dabbles with the rest of the support heroes as well. I'll leave the Mercy change ideas for Ski, so let's talk about Ana. Wait a second, Ana's flawless and needs no changes, so let's talk about Zen. Zen is a super interesting character in Overwatch 2 since the game is much faster paced and he's very fragile. With everyone flanking, it's super easy for him to die. At least it was until they gave him 225 HP and Spartan grade thighs. The kick change for Zen is extremely fun, in my opinion, both from the perspective of playing Zen and also against him. You see lots of little interactions happening with it, like when you're against a Genji, they'll try to bait the kick by moving just close enough but not into range, then strike when there is a kick because Zen can't shoot for a little bit of time after the kick. Or you'll hold an angle next to a high ground of Zen where you can kick someone off, and when they're trying to run up the stairs, they'll specifically stop and wait to see if you kick. These interactions are great for the game as they increase player skill, and a lot of mind games happen because of them. However, Zen's 225 HP is far too much. The dude is meant to be a glass cannon that dies easily, but outputs massive damage and increases the team's damage by a significant amount, but instead now has more health than any of the other supports. Zen definitely needs to go down to 200 HP. It's okay if he's easy to kill because of how much damage he puts out. As soon as people find ways to protect him, he will be the most powerful support by far, just like he is in Overwatch 1 right now. Oh, also, put Ana's sleep dart into the kill feed.
And that's all from me for now. A huge thank you to all of the content creators that were part of this video. If you want to check them out, their links will be in the description, and if you'd like to see more from me, well, you can visit my channel for plenty of Mercy related content. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.